Today we're going to talk about applications of family life coaching in early Head Start home visiting. Family life coaching is a technique used by family life educators and other family professionals. My name is Dr. Walsh and I'm very excited to talk with you today. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge home visitors and supervisors as well as other supporting staff at one early Head Start home visiting site. Family life coaching could be used in multiple ways at an early Head Start home visiting site. One way is to have the home visitors engage with a coach a few times a month, and of course the frequency and duration and intensity could vary by site, and to use tenets of family life education with the home visitors. Another way is to explore tenets of family life coaching in their actual home visits. And McBride and Peterson, their home visiting observation rating scale, they actually have on their third scale, you can code coaching. So you can look closely how this might be used with other techniques that the home visitor might use, such as modeling, observing, narrating, and focus specifically on coaching. What we're going to talk about today is peer coaching and exploring how home visitors can coach each other, their colleagues that they work with, to be more inspired, more engaged, more competent perhaps, and more invigorated in the work that they're doing. Peer coaching is a term that's kind of loosely used in the literature. You might hear it synonymous with other terms. Pam Robbins, in her 1991 book on peer coaching, defined it as a process in which two or more colleagues work together to reflect on current practices, expand skills, refine skills, share ideas, teach one another, solve problems, and the like. So that's what we're going to build upon today. Before we talk more about peer coaching, I want to talk to you about the tenets of family life coaching. Myers-Walsh et al. Said there's really good theoretical perspectives to use to shed light on family life coaching. Then we're going to talk about this as a technique that family professionals use in their daily and ongoing work. We'll define family life coaching. We'll answer the question why family life coaching, particularly when there are a lot of other models out there, and why this model is specifically germane to home visiting compared to other models that you might find in the early childhood or other fields. We'll talk about what family life coaching looks like in practice. And then finally, I'm very excited to share with you the process that we're using at one early Head Start home visiting site to merge family life coaching and peer coaching together. The theoretical perspectives for family life coaching, it naturally fits with family life education, which is a melding of a variety of perspectives. But Myers-Walsh, in her 2014 article, suggested liberation pedagogy and empowerment as theoretical frameworks for family life coaching. Shore and Ferrer's work on liberation pedagogy is very interesting as a really nice natural fit because it's about transformative education. They talk about the act of knowing rather than a passive or where one recipient is swallowing knowledge and it becomes more of a transfer of knowledge. They talked about really it being an active process that's reflexive and reflective. The coach explores the coachee, so you become familiar with the coachee's language and reality. So you're really, as a coach, you're trying to become familiar with the coachee's reality and the meaning they construct in their daily life. Authentic thought language is valued in coaching. Listening is very important. Mutual creation or a partnership, and motivation is sometimes the action itself. Coaching involves a lot of planning and discussing, and sometimes that action itself, considered the motivation, is extremely powerful to living an authentic and meaningful professional life. As I mentioned, listening is really important. Finding out what the coachee wants to know, what they want, how they want to live, and coaching really is bringing out one's potential, which fits nicely with this idea of liberating during the coaching session. The empowerment literature, I just wanted to share briefly with you what empowerment is. And empowerment essentially is a subjective state of mind that gives the person a sense of competency, mastery, and strengths, and hence the person receives, a sense of control and agency. You can't empower an individual. At the end of the day, empowerment comes from the self, but you could set the stage for an individual to be empowered. So these are the two theoretical underpinnings that guide family life coaching. Family life education has this technique of family life coaching. Allen and her colleagues, most recently in 2016, argued for family life coaching to be added to the domains of family practice model. And most of you know already that family life education, family therapy, and family case management are the central domains that have similarities and differences as well. Myers-Walsh wrote a rebuttal to Allen's work suggesting that we need to think of family life coaching as a technique, not as a separate domain, and I tend to agree with Myers-Walsh. I think family life coaching is a technique that all of these professions can use within the domains of family practice model. An overview of family life coaching is that it is strengths-based. So you're looking at the individual's strengths more so than their challenges, and taking a strengths-based model by, assaying colleagues, for instance, you're really looking at, functioning more important than structure, that all individuals and families have strengths, so on and so forth. Family life coaching is more of a supportive process. It's not an there shouldn't be a lot of evaluation happening. None should really be happening. It's very much goal-directed, and the goals can be kind of broad or lofty, or they could be SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, linked to time. Family life coaching normalizes situation, and if we think about Doherty's kind of rigid boundaries between family therapy and family life education, family life coaching is kind of a technique that gives you an opportunity to normalize emotions as well as information in other situations. So family life coaching, you could potentially argue that it gives family life educators a chance to play on part of the emotional part of their work, even though it's centrally focused on information. Family life coaches turn challenges into victories. Just like family life education, family therapy, and family case management, it's really a systems-based approach. There aren't any silver bullet, remedies to situations, so on and so forth. And questions are so important to family life coaching. Questions that the coach asks are often intentional. They're good questions. Let me give you an example of intentional and good questions. They come from appreciative inquiry, and appreciative inquiry can be used as a form of intake to get information from the coachee or from the client. Appreciative inquiry starts with the idea, first of all, that there is good in every system, and then this starts the process of getting to know more information about the coachee. So you want to find out through discovery what the client has as strengths. You want to ask them, what are some peak times in their life when they felt that life was just as it should be? Ask them either, explicitly or implicitly about their strengths and their values and what's most important to them as a professional. So that's how the appreciative inquiry process starts. It continues with the dreaming phase and the design and destiny. Dreaming, you want to find out what success looks like, what their goals look like. If all of a sudden they woke up tomorrow and realized that a situation had improved, what would that look like? And design and destiny is taking those dreams and putting them into action. So you're helping them create the change that they want to see. How can they take their strengths and their goals and set a vision for the future and plan for that future? Finally, destiny is the delivery of dreams. You want them to kind of envision a dream and then form goals and action steps to reach that dream. So these are a few of the main principles or tenets of family life coaching. I created this figure to kind of help us start to think about what does this look like more in action as we take these tenets and make them more into things we're going to actually do during our coaching session. Discovery is really important. There isn't an expert and a non-expert in coaching dyads. There are facilitators and collaborators and people who ask critical questions in coaching. A study dyad might work completely collaborative to study a topic in depth, such as prenatal home visits in jails. They might study that more in depth to find out how that might differ from their other home visits. Video analysis and reflection could be a huge part of family life coaching, where you're discussing what's seen in the video and the client is really looking at their strengths, and they might discover solutions that they want to find, or they might discover past successes that might help them be really successful in the future. Self-visualization is a technique to use as well. In Alan's Family Life Coaching book, she breaks it down and provides a description of self-visualization. And she uses this in her practice, and you really take the client on a mental journey and you help them visualize what a better life might look like if they achieve their goals. You help them find a comfortable position. You might have paper and pen really close by, but you invite them to close their eyes and to feel comfortable with that. And then you encourage them to focus on their breathing process. And then you start to have them get in touch with kind of very much the present moment. And then you might talk to them about, their future and helping them kind of notice their present and then to find the dwelling, per se, of their future self. So it's an interesting technique that you could use in your coaching sessions, particularly in the process when you're starting to create a vision for the future and to construct whether they're very specific or large goals. Again, remember, the coach is a collaborator, a facilitator, a person who asks good, important questions. They might do appreciative inquiry, which I just mentioned to you. That's the discovery, the dreaming, and the design and the destiny. It's really helping them see a positive change, to recognize that there's good everywhere, and to really start the inquiry process. In family life coaching, we're focusing on solutions, not problems. We're turning challenges into successes. So it has its roots in positive psychology and other ideas as well. So these are a few of the possibilities of processes and activities when we're thinking about family life coaching as merging with peer coaching. Why family life coaching instead of other models? First of all, there are commonalities of models, and Artman, Meeker, and colleagues, a lot of it comes from the early childhood and special education literature, and it focuses a lot on, what do some of these coaching models in early childhood have in common? And some existing commonalities include a partnership between the coach and the coachee. So a partnership meaning equity. No one is more experienced than the other. No one is more expert than the other. Although that very well might be the case, this is about shared meaning making and collaboration. You're talking about goals and plans, and then you're helping, review those plans. And observation, reflection, and discussion are also commonalities of models. But in my opinion, that doesn't work for home visitors, because there are huge differences between home visiting programs and classroom-based teacher type of work. First of all, home visiting programs have different guiding theories and doing work simultaneously with adults and children in the triad. That's very different than a classroom. Unlike the classroom teacher, as Rogman and her colleagues point out, the home visitor frequently encounters unexpected situations where in the classroom, a lot of your work is based on management and organization, and things very much unexpected happen in the home. You run into unfamiliar people sometimes in the home, as well as potentially risky situations. So because of these reasons, I do think we need a different approach to coaching for early Head Start home visitors. And that's where I think family life coaching is perfect, because it's a technique used by family professionals, including FLEs. And family life education and early Head Start home visiting are natural fits. As I shared in a previous video, they share important theoretical assumptions, and they both work to position families' individual needs and concerns at the forefront. So for these reasons, and probably a few others that you might think of, that's why I think we need family life coaching instead of other early childhood models like practice-based coaching or Piñata's My Teaching Partner. They simply don't fit nor apply to home visitors. So what might this look like, applying family life coaching to peer coaching? First of all, they're both processes. It's a process, they're not evaluation concerned, they're more process and supportive than other types of endeavors you might do at your work. Peer coaching, it could be 2 or more colleagues, and as I mentioned earlier, you're working together to kind of create this new vision, share ideas, you might teach one another, solve problems, and the like. Family life coaching, it's strengths-based, it's goals-oriented, and again, the goals can be very broad and lofty, or they can be very specific, attainable, measurable, realistic, and you might accomplish them in a certain amount of time. Powerful, good questions are really important to coaching in the family life coaching model. And that process itself might be motivating, it might be planning, but that is the powerful family life coaching process. And what we might get out of this are professionals who are inspired. They might have increased competence, confidence, and commitment to their work after undergoing the family life coaching process. So again, when we think about education, education is about awakening, inspiring, invigorating. That's very different than therapy and family case management. And although family life coaching could be used by all professionals, we're thinking about it today in the process of education, a technique that a family life educator might use. I'm very excited to share with you what we're doing at one site. It's the idea of merging peer coaching and family life coaching together. And this is happening at the site in the context of a professional learning community. And the professional learning community includes early Head Start home visitors, as well as support staff, the supervisor, and myself. And we're doing the idea of merging these two ideas of peer coaching and family life coaching. How our journey started is we had a brainstorming session, and this was one of the ideas that came up as what they would like to focus on during their professional learning community time. It's a voluntary idea. They selected partners, and the supervisor was clear that you could get a divorce from your partner if the partnership simply wasn't working. And they decided to work in dyads. They selected their dyads for either similar about themselves or different, so on and so forth. After our brainstorming session, I sent out an email to get further clarification on what they might want this to look like. And so I sent the home visitors and the support staff the prompt, in the best of all possible worlds, what would you want peer coaching to look like, sound like, and feel like at your site? And several home visitors responded. And so the brainstorming session combined with the responses to this prompt made me think that family life coaching is a perfect model for peer coaching. During the first session, when the dyads are meeting, it's important to talk about norms. Similar to what Alan would do by giving her clients her norms, the coachee and the coach are going to jointly construct norms. One norm might be, for instance, that they are going to do activities in between coaching sessions and report back. Another norm might be that they're going to share resources in between coaching sessions. Another norm could be that this is going to be a respectful and confidential environment, that you're not going to discuss what happens during peer coaching with other professionals at the site. During the first session, it's really important to build that rapport. Even if this is someone you've worked with for a decade, you want to set the tone that this is a situation in particular where there's going to be high, unconditional, positive regard. There's going to be empathy. Empathy is key to family life coaching, as well as listening and other skills that we talked about. And it's a time for authentic talk during peer coaching. You want to cover the logistics in the first session. For instance, is the time going to be spent completely collaborative, or are you going to split time where one person is the coach and other is the coachee? Or every other session, one person is going to be the coach and the other person is going to be the coachee. So you have to figure out the logistics during this first session as well. You want to spend a little bit of time focusing on solutions. What has really worked in the past in terms of things that arise at work, and you want to build on those past successes. You want to have the coachee share accomplishments. These could be something very recent or something from the past, and you want to talk about the strengths of the coachee as well. The next step, and this should really happen during the first session, once you've established what's happening, this is a time to really start to think about goals. Remember, family life coaching is, as well as other coaching models, is about goals and action plans and so on and so forth. So remember, it's a process, so you might need to use questions to help the coachee kind of come to terms with some of their goals. You're creating a new vision for the future, so with this new vision, you're going to have to kind of help them through questions and authentic talk really come up with some goals and some dreams and then an action plan for meeting this new vision in the future. There has to be, in coaching, there has to be a commitment to change and to learning, or else it won't work. This is a time to resolve things that people might be feeling ambivalent about. Again, as the coach, you want to meet that person with empathy. You want to meet them with listening. And again, you're empowering them. You're setting the stage for them to have this frame of mind where they feel empowered. And again, empowerment is very much a subjective state of mind that really gives the person a sense of competency, mastery, and finding their strengths so they, at the end of the day, have control and agency of their professional lives. We talked earlier about how appreciative inquiry could be really helpful, as well as self-visualization to start the process of designing this new vision for the future. Action steps are really important. As a coach, you might bring those action steps to each meeting, or they might be something that you're kind of cognizant of, even though you might not have anything concrete in front of you. So action steps are simply, what are the steps that you need to do to get to this new future of where you want to go? During these coaching sessions, once the goals have been established, you might spend your time practicing skills. You might reflect, you might ask powerful questions. You could actually give immediate feedback, particularly if you're using video in the coaching sessions. Right then and there, they could get some nuggets of advice. The home visitor has this opportunity to gain insight in family life coaching, to find out or maybe help them understand what they're doing well and what they might want to change. But in the coaching process, it really should be driven by the coachee rather than you telling the coachee what you think they need or what they ought to be doing. You really want to help them build on previous successes to find solutions to current tasks. And the action steps should align with goals. And action steps really help all of us, maintain that partnership during coaching, because you're taking those goals and you're figuring out, how do I meet my dreams? And the action steps can really help us stay accountable in doing that. At the end, whether your coaching program is a month, a week, or a year, at the end of this, you want to find out, were there results and is there reflection happening? How did the action steps work? What are the next steps after this? And then all along, or maybe at the end, you want that home visitor to be reporting on their strengths and challenges. Because again, this is about a transformative process that is happening with the coachee rather than what you think should be happening. And then finally, there should be opportunities to share self-reflection as well as self-correction. And sometimes video can really help with that. These are the references that I used for today's talk. This concludes applications of family life coaching in early Head Start home visiting. Going forward, I'd like you to review the information sheet and start to think about putting these ideas, the tenets of family life coaching, into practice.